Welcome to Golf and the Good Life, your guide to golf travel across the pond. I'm DJ Jones, joined as always by my good friend Connor Evers, and today we are returning to our Legendary Links series for a visit to a course that few have heard of and even fewer have ever played. But before we get there, Connor, we have reached kind of the time of year in the golf travel world where 2 weeks kind of passes in about 2 days, at least in terms of how it feels. What's the latest up at H&B HQ?
DJ, appreciate the introduction and cannot wait to talk about a special place that I know is near and dear to both of our hearts. Yeah, all is good here at HQ. The last episode we talked, DJ was we were both at the PGA show in Orlando. So just kind of getting back from that great show, other than the weather. I know Deej lives down there in Orlando, so we'll blame it all on him. But planning for 2026 is off and running. Can't believe it. Feel like every single year, some of the courses, especially the marquee courses that we talked about, their booking process just moves, a week or so earlier every year. And I swear we're going to start booking these trips 2 years out before we know it. But the big thing too is, and the nice thing is a lot of the tour operators kind of have an edge on a lot of those marquee courses. So from the general public, we have a few extra weeks to work with. So just kind of preparing all of our groups for those processes that are about to come up in the weeks to come and sometimes months to come as well. So looking forward to that as we kind of transition to booking more of the trips for next year in 2026. And we talked about it a lot too, and demand is crazy, and it's even getting crazier than I think we all anticipated. And just kind of an example, one of those marquee courses for say, won't say the name, but just try to book a trip for 17 months out. And the day that I tried to book it, they are completely booked out on the specific day. Again, 17 months out from this week. Cannot believe it. Completely had to change the dates of the trip this far out too, and the group captain couldn't believe it as well. But it's just kind of the nature of the beast of kind of where we're at for even for next year. Hard to believe, but it's just what it is, and we roll with the punches. So again, looking forward to groups traveling this year 25 and planning for next year.
It's just so funny how things have completely inverted, where we are talking about the next golf travel season before, as far as booking, before we even begin the one that is actually set to start. But that's just the nature of the business these days. And, if you haven't already started the planning process, you're kind of a little bit behind the curve. And if you're looking to avoid some disappointment, now is the time. But moving back to today's episode, we are going to talk about Cruit Island. As Connor mentioned, this is a place that is near and dear to our hearts for a lot of reasons, and we are going to explain all of that here throughout the episode. But what sort of inspired this was going back to the PGA show. Tom Coyne stopped by our booth for a few minutes for a quick catch up, and the topic of Cruit Island came up in his recent article that's in the Golfer's Journal. As I've said before here on the podcast, if you don't subscribe to the Golfer's Journal, you really should subscribe to the Golfer's Journal. And, Connor and I, we got talking, and it's like we do this Legendary Links series. And first off, for those who don't know, Cruit Island is this little 9-hole golf course that is in Northwest Ireland. It's only been around since like the mid 80s. It is as far off the beaten path as you can get. I mean, it is the definition of golf at the edge of the earth. But we do this Legendary Links series that typically covers, places like Prestwick and Royal Dornoch and Cabot Highlands and these big name places that a lot of places go. But Connor, when you and I were there a few years ago, it made such a lasting mark on both of us that we're sitting there saying to one another, if that's not the definition of a legendary links, I don't know what is.
Absolutely. It was just an amazing day. I can't believe we went there. Taking the golf course away, just the journey and being there, the scenery, the day, which we'll talk about, which DJ reluctantly says, and it does say, it was a sunny hurricane. I mean, it's what it was. And also my dad was with us. It was us three, my dad, DJ, and I. And I mean, my dad doesn't play golf, and he just thought it was unbelievable. When we were this day, we played Narn Portneuf in the morning. And after that, I mean, Darren Portneuf, it came down in the morning. I think our tee time was like 8 in the morning or so. poured and the sunshine came out. So we're like, oh, this is going to be a beautiful day. It's pretty calm at Narn-Portneuf, a little bit of windiness. But once we started driving from Narn-Portneuf up to Cruit Island, which Google Maps, it says it's like 30, 40 minutes. It's not. It's like a good hour, if you will, just because of the drive. It got extremely windy. I mean, do you think it was 40, 50 mile an hour? I mean,
For sure. I mean, it was every bit what we've experienced here in Florida quite often with hurricanes and tropical storms. It was a sunny hurricane.
yeah. I mean, it was incredible. I think we were the only golfers on the course, or maybe one of a couple. I mean, there was not many, again, a 9-hole golf course. But I also have to kind of set the scene of this place. So DJ and I, we were watching an Eric Anders Lang video, I think during the summer when it came out in August, about this place called Cruit Island. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going up to the area. Like, let's try and check this place out. Just because of just the nature of how off the beaten path this golf course is. And I will say times have changed at Cruit Island, but they now have a full website, a booking process, etc. But at the point in time, and this would have been end of summer into the fall of 2022, and I was planning this 3-week trip out for myself and DJ. You were over about the same time. I was trying to make a tee time for Cruit Island, and our good friends, the Casey brothers at Rosa Penna, they're about an hour and a half away. I couldn't figure out literally how to make a tea time. I was trying to call and make a tea time that way, send an email, no one was responding. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I kind of like the mystery and the fascination of this place, because it's kind of hard to figure out. I ended up getting a phone number from the Casey brothers at Rosa Penna, and started a WhatsApp message with a gentleman at the club. And that's actually how we made the tea time, through WhatsApp. And it was kind of like, yeah, just kind of come out, and we're like, all right, do we tee off at 2 p.m.? It's like, just come out, you'll figure it out. Like, it's all good. I'm like, okay. I'm like, DJ, I think we've got a tea time. I don't really know. So that's kind of, the day. Do you have any thoughts on that? Anything to add?
No, I mean that was basically it. I mean, it was this big mystery of we don't really know what we're getting into. We're at Narn and Portneuf, and we finished our day, and we're kind of getting ready to leave. And Marty, our caddy, says, as we're getting ready to pull out or getting ready to get in the car, he's like, when you turn off the main road, it's the longest 5K you're ever going to drive. And I think first that has to be pointed out is that Marty's definition, I think his name was Marty.
It was. Yep.
Okay. Marty's definition of a quote, main road left a lot to be desired. There was nothing main about this road. I mean, it was just this 2-lane, barely a lane and a half situation. And then you turned more or less on a cart path and had 3 point something miles, I think it was, to the club. And it was the most harrowing 3 miles I think I've ever driven.
Yeah, this drive is amazing. And I go back to my main point. It's like, yeah, there was a golf course there, but just the journey of getting there was worth it, and just an experience of itself. But you're right. I mean, this road was like a golf cart path, and DJ went first, and I followed you, to get into the club, because it was like that, and it was like a one-way road, but cars were coming the opposite way too. But just kind of setting the scene a little bit more too. When you get closer to the golf course, there's actually like a little shipwreck off to the side. That was pretty interesting. I remember that. And then driving up to it on the car path that goes up to the car park, it literally splits between the first fairway and I think the fourth or fifth hole, something like that. It's definitely the first hole and one of the first holes. It's only 9 holes, but it's really interesting. Kind of splits it, and you're driving, essentially feel like you're driving on the golf course. It's really, really unique. They have things like, there's an honesty box there. So days, maybe like this day we were there, or some other similar days, when you show up and you don't really have a tea time like what we did, and there was no one there, just put your quid in the shop and in the box and go out and play, and you're kind of good to go. So that's just another fun thing that you just don't get anywhere else. So it was a cool day.
Yeah, I mean, and we pull into the car park, and like you said, there was only maybe 2 or 3 cars, and I think there was one other group on the course, because I have a picture of you on, I don't know, it's about the 5th or 6th tee, and you can see there's a couple people in the background, but we certainly didn't encounter them and didn't even know they were out there. But we get to the clubhouse, or we kind of pull up and we get out of the car, I should say, and it's like, well, what do we do? Is there anybody here? And we go up to the clubhouse and we pull the door and it's actually open. And, we go inside. There was some seating area. There was a little bar over to the right. And it was clearly one of these places where you check in at the bar, at least as I recall. It's been 3 years, so maybe a little fuzzy on that. But this gent comes up to the counter. Mind you, we still got this hurricane going on. So you immediately open the door and it's like getting blasted in the face with the wind. We trudge up to the top to the first tee because it's a little bit of a climb, and he gives us the lay of the land. And thank goodness that he did, because first off, the backing up a second, the view from the first tee is unbelievable.
Mhm.
I mean, you think of places like Ardglass, Machrihanish, what have you. This is every bit up there with those first tee views. I mean, it is unbelievable. But looking out at the course, it's like, where on earth do you hit it? Like, where am I going? There's a flag straight ahead. And I'm certain if he hadn't come to the box and told us which direction the first hole went, we would have played to that flag, which actually was like, I don't know, hole six or something. Well, that wasn't hole six. We know that. But it was like hole four or something like that. And we might have just wound up playing cross country golf that afternoon because we would have had no clue where we were going.
It's so true. Yeah. It's like, no, guys, turn around. It's this way. And I mean, you literally have just a sliver of fairway, and then it's just the road that goes out, the entrance and the exit road. And that's kind of your view. And then you got the ocean behind. So it was just amazing. The course is spectacular. It's off the beaten path, but it's one of the coolest experiences you can have in the game of golf. Like I said, super windy. I think on probably calm days, if you're inland, it's probably just going to be windy out there because you are almost on the most northern part, or one of the most northern parts of the whole country of Ireland. Now, I'm trying to remember a few of the holes here. So one I definitely remember, three was just insane. I'm looking at the kind of the picture right now, and you tee off, it's completely blind, and the green is like an infinity green that overlooks the sea, the ocean. And the green is 10, 15 yards long. Is
Yeah,
amazing.
we're on the third tee. Okay, so the first hole, remember, it plays across the street. It plays across
Yeah.
the entrance
Yeah.
road, first off. So the
Yep.
cars that come in and out, they have to blow their horn to alert golfers. So that's
Yep.
number one. We can't miss that point. And then I don't remember number two. You're better at remembering golf holes than I am. But yes, number three, it was completely blind up and over a knoll, and then it ran straight away practically into the sea. I mean, the green feels like it's fallen off the cliff, but we got on 3T and we just both hit driver. We had no idea. We didn't bother looking at the sign right next to the tee that said how long the hole was. We just hit. And I don't remember if it was down. Yes, it was downwind
Uh-huh.
because it's that hole I think plays opposite-ish of number 6, which we'll talk about later, was definitely into the wind. So anyway, it's downwind and we blast drivers. Yours is gone.
Gone.
Yours is way gone in the Atlantic. Mine is in the deep rough, hanging practically off the edge over the green. And it's like, what is this place? I think that was the first time when we
Yeah.
both looked at each other and were like, what is this place? And then there, if you
Yeah.
remember, there was a bench behind the green, and we got done, and we both just like plopped on this bench and just sat for a good few minutes to not only collect ourselves, but just to kind of just soak it in.
Yeah. And going back again, DJ and I are the two playing. My dad's with, but he is just like, this is one of the most unbelievable places I've ever been. He's like a half hole behind us, just taking pictures. It's just like, this is incredible. Again, putting golf away, just the scenery and the vistas and just where we're at and just the journey is just it's just incredible. It was so cool. And yeah, so the third was great. The fourth kind of literally just cuts back, and water is directly to your right. And I honestly think I lost like 10 golf balls playing 9 holes because we just had no clue where we were going. But it's a pretty tough golf course. You got to hit it pretty straight because the fairways are really, really tight. But the fourth, I mean, mine went way to the right. The wind took it went over, and it's just kind of like an extremely hilly jaunt up to the green. And again, you got a lot of blind shots. Like in the fourth is it was probably like 350 yards, but went into from off the right, and it's just it's game on, and you're on the fairway. I think I hit like driver three wood into a 350-yard par four. Just unbelievable, amazing, really fun. And the next hole, DJ's got a really cool picture of me. It was just unbelievable. There was a bench also, and I think you stood up on the bench and took a photo, and you've got the ocean way, way, way down. And also hit driver. I think I smoked it, couldn't find it, lost another golf ball. Doesn't matter. It was just a cool experience. And I think also we'll link into it in the show notes. But DJ wrote a really, really cool article on, I think it's what was the name of it? Cruit Island, the curious case for Cruit Island, I think.
Yeah, the
It's the name
Curious
of
Case
it.
of Critch Island is the
Yep,
name of it.
yep.
Yep.
So we'll link that too. And I think he's got a cool photo of me on there, and just kind of our journey. On to the sixth. Do you want to start kind of with that, and we'll talk about it?
Well, listen, I mean, what started this entire episode was our conversation with Tom Coyne because he wrote an entire article, or he devoted most of, I should say, an entire article in the Golfers Journal to just the sixth at Critch Island. And it's just one of those things that we're going to fail miserably at describing without the visual, without being there, without feeling it. It's like 140 yards, something like that. The tee box kind of sticks out into the ocean. You're playing across these chasms of the ocean, these rocks that have just been battered for millions of years and molded and what have you. And there's this green that's just kind of again sticking out into the ocean. And I would describe it as almost like a blend, not that I've played Cypress, but as like a blend of like 15 and 16 at Cypress because it's kind of short like 15 and it's of course on the ocean, but it is falling off the world like 16. And so it's kind of like this blend of these two. The day we played it, it was dead into the wind. If you were playing it downwind, the green itself has like a punch bowl effect behind it. And as I got to thinking about that, I was like, I bet they actually maybe put that there because otherwise, if it's downwind, there is no stopping this thing anywhere. And so maybe they had to put this big giant, backstop. But also, I don't know. I don't feel like they moved a whole lot of earth to make this place. So that's probably just how the green was. But it's basically these two fingers of land, one tee, one green, a whole lot of ocean in between. And I think I punched a three wood or something across, or maybe it was my hybrid. I think I hit a hybrid and made it barely. And I think you flushed a 4 iron and it got up in the wind and just like had no chance.
Yeah, I hit I think it was like, yeah, you're right. It was a 4 iron, and I came up about 15 yards short of just getting to land. So probably 30 yards short of the actual green, which is funny. But yeah, the fifth green, you get off the fifth and you walk directly out. And DJ said it's perfectly. It's almost like different like fingers of land that kind of jet out into the ocean, but on those fingers there's rock, but then it goes into grass, and that's where your tee boxes are. It's really hard to describe other than like seeing. If you're listening to this right now, pause it, go on Google, type in Critch Island sixth hole, you'll get what we kind of mean by this. But that's kind of your tee box, and you just hit out, and one of those big kind of slivers is the green, and you said it perfectly. I mean, you have to hit the green because past it as well, if you're downwind or if you just absolutely flush one when it's into the wind, you can also go way over it. So it's almost like a bank behind it. It is very kind of punch bowly green complex, and it's just a cool place. We loved it so much. I mean, we hung out there for 20, 25 minutes, taking some photos, obviously too windy for the drone. And we were trying to hit golf balls back on the tee box, which is really funny. We were just kind of two kids in the candy store, just kind of playing around, and it was just so cool. One of like my favorite golfing experiences like ever. And I mean, I've been fortunate enough to play some really cool places here in the States, throughout the world, and like that's up with them. Even, top private clubs here in the States, or some of the, top 10 clubs in GB&I. That's just one of them that I like thoroughly enjoy. And I think just the conditions just made it even more fun. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I
great,
mean,
great.
the hitting it back to the tee box. I mean, the tee box couldn't have been 8 paces wide.
Yeah.
And and it's downwind from back from the green. So what are we thinking trying to land a golf ball back on that? We don't know how far it is. We don't know, we're just like you said, we were literally just two kids who had been dropped off at a golf course hitting the golf ball around. But it was funny. When we were getting ready to go to record today, I went to the website, and in the top right corner of the Cruit Island website, it says overseas golf membership. And so I gave that a little click. And Connor, 2,500 euros to be an overseas life member. Now, our colleague Chris McCon is in the market for an overseas life membership somewhere. Maybe not a life membership, but he's in the market for an overseas membership somewhere. He's got some ideas and some feelers out there. I think we I think we need to be steering him to Northwest Ireland.
I agree. I know he loves Enniscrone and Carn. I know Enniscrone's one of his favorites overseas. So I don't know what the exact drive time is from Enniscrone to Cruit Island. Probably a few hours, definitely. But I would say so. Definitely wanted to go up there and check it out. I mean, I'm all in on that. I'm all in. I'm calm. It's a journey to get there. And speaking of journey to get there, we were talking about just kind of the lay of the land of where it is, just kind of remembering it. And the DJ, you mentioned, I don't want to take your thunder, but how close the Donegal airport is, to Cruit Island. It's not too far. So
Yeah, I mean, and it was okay. So I pulled it up on Google Maps. It's only like 3 miles and change, maybe 4 miles as the crow flies, but it's like a 24-minute drive to again give you an idea of these driving conditions in Donegal. Listen, we have said it so many times. You good lifers out there listening, whatever Google Maps tells you the time is, that is not the time. You need to be adding considerable amounts of minutes to that time. But yeah, so the Donegal Airport, they've got twice daily service on Aer Lingus from Dublin, and then they've got a Friday and Sunday service from Logan Air out of Glasgow. So I mean, I don't know if you're wanting to tack on a couple extra days and do something wild, and you're in Dublin, that's pretty easy. And there's a car hire. There's actually, I think there was an enterprise or at least a couple different car hire options. You could absolutely make this happen. I mean, it's not something that the average H&B traveler is going to be doing, but if you are out for adventure, that would be the way to do it. But I'm curious. Thinking back to the day, and we've talked a lot about it and so forth. What what would you do different? If we had to go back and replay it, like how would you set it up?
yeah, I mean, so when we go over, it's a pretty hefty itinerary. Sometimes it's different hotels every night, multiple golf courses, depending on the trip. So it was one of those where we sandwiched in. Again, we played 18 at Narn and Portneuf in the morning, and then we played Cruit Island in the afternoon. I think would want to have next time more time to appreciate it. So a full day there would be lovely. Played at least twice, maybe a third time. The biggest thing, and I do remember telling this, we were on the ninth fairway. I told you, I'm like, Deej, yeah, it's only been 9 holes, but I am exhausted. I feel like I played 18 holes. Now, you may think, oh, yeah, you played 18 in the morning. Well, we had buggies, we had golf carts at Narn Port News, so we weren't walking there. It's just a tough walk, even for 9 holes. And I think I don't even know what the yardage is on the whole place, but it's fairly short on the scorecard. But there's a lot of topography. Underneath it's a lot of rock, so it's just kind of hard on your feet. It's a tough walk, and I would want to spend a little bit more time there, appreciate it, at least play it twice in the same trip. I know they have it where you can play a different yardage for your second time around a little bit longer too, which is cool. So, yeah, that's kind of what I would do another time. What about you? Anything you change?
No, I mean that's it. I think that you've got to play it as its own day. You got to play it a couple times. Rosapenna makes that very easy. You can base yourself in Rosapenna and you can get over there in an hour and a half or so. And if you need to do some good life or not need to, you should be doing some good life. But there's a couple great distilleries nearby. The Crawley Distillery isn't terribly out of your way. I stopped into their awesome place, especially given how far off the beaten path it is. This was just an incredible distillery. But you basically nailed it. Don't do what we did. Don't go to Narn and Portneuf in the morning and then go to Cruit Island. You're doing a total disservice. And our problem as well was we started to get a little paranoid about getting to Rosapenna before dark. even if we had the energy to go around a second time, we just didn't want to be out on the roads at night, given their what we'd gone through to get there in the middle of the day, we didn't want to be doing that at night. So I think that's how I would do it different. Make it its own day, play it two or three times and just soak it up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And one other thing I forgot to mention is it was kind of funny. So when we were over there, I was just booking in this group for a Northwest Ireland trip the following year. So we're there in the fall of 2022. This group was traveling in 2023, and they wanted to play Cruit Island. Now, as many of our folks know, us as a company, we play the golf courses, we eat in the restaurants, we vet all these places beforehand. So I'm like, hey, let's hold off and book this. And one of the things that, and we're talking about in this, I lost a ton of golf balls. We had no clue where we're going. I mean, God's sakes, we were lined up for the wrong green on the first tee. So I'm like, I wonder if they have caddies or be able to. And so I was actually booking this tee time on behalf of one of our members through WhatsApp from the same gentleman that how DJ and I got on. And I said, is there an opportunity for caddies? I have no clue. Don't think so. And they're like, yeah, we can. So our group actually had it was four golfers, two couples, and they had a member actually go out and walk with them as kind of a four caddy, if you will, just to say, hey, this is where you go, this is where you shouldn't go, because you really need a guide. And they're not used to visitors as well. It's other things. So there's really not a map. I mean, there was a little map on the scorecard too. That's the other thing. So if you're going to do it, I would definitely spend, a little bit of extra money and have one of those members go out and kind of be your Sherpa for the day, if you will, just to kind of show where to go. So that's the other thing I'd add in there is what I would do over again.
The thing for me about Critch Island is a couple things. First, every time I mentioned to someone on our trip that we had played it or we were gonna play it, there was like this look in their eye. It was like this, you're in on the secret. Like you're going to Critch Island, you know what you're doing, sort of thing, or what have you. My cab driver on the way back to the airport, he asked where we were playing because he saw my golf bag, and I told him I just vaguely said Northwest Ireland, and he said, "Whoa, I love the courses up there. Where'd you play?" And I name them off. Critch Island. You lose a golf ball there, it might end up in Newfoundland. And that was just what we kept bumping into every time we were there. And now, fast forward a couple years later, and golf travel overall, it has become so much about getting as far off the beaten path as you can in search of something great. Everyone is looking for something that somebody else hasn't done. We've got places like Sand Valley and Streamsong and Cabot, Nova Scotia, Lofoten Links in Norway. And it's all about the next generation of golf travelers being so much more intrepid and seeking these one-off things that nobody else has done. Nobody else has posted about, or at least very few have. Ardglass and Brora and Machrihanish and Dornick 30 or 40 years ago, they were these places that were way off the beaten path. And now they're basically mainstream. And it feels like Critch Island is on the cusp of that exact same thing. It was on the cover of Golfer's Journal. Here we are talking about it. There's a top 100 golf course right down the street. There's numerous other great golf courses in the area. It's a stunning part of the world, and it's a part of the golf travel world that is kind of like the last one standing for any kind of bang for the buck. The golf travel prices have gone a little haywire. We'll be totally candid about it. This is the one place that's like number one. If you think you've been there and done that, but you haven't been to Northwest Ireland, you absolutely haven't. But number two, if you're looking to A, capture some value, and B, do something that nobody else has done, Critch Island is it. And I don't know if that makes me happy or sad, but it makes me completely grateful for the day that we had together to have experienced it when we did and how we did. And it's not often that us with H&B that we get to do things together golf wise overseas. When we go, we spread out. You go here, I go there, Whitney goes here. And the fact that we not only got to do this together, but we went as far off the path as possible, I'll never forget it.
Oh gosh, so great. Love what you said there. And I don't even know what to say after that. It's so true. Yeah, just really like really special. And that was about a year into working with the company, like around there, a little bit more than that. And yeah, I think also like when I tell people, what I do and they think, oh, St. Andrews, they think overseas golf, St. Andrews, and they're like, oh, you played the old course, amazing. And it's like, yeah, but I have played Cruit Island, and they would have no clue what that is. I mean, I get more out of that than I do of playing the old course. 10 out of 10, just because it's just such a like unique experience, hard to get to, and a place where people probably won't end up. They want to go over and they want to play the big name courses. And yeah, I want to do the same thing, but that's what fuels my fire is those experiences, the hard to get places. I'm working with a group right now that's past travelers of ours and mine, and they want something really different. We're looking at Northwest Ireland, and they're also looking Kintyre, so Machronish Golf Club. They like the idea of Ardfin and Ashkernish and those experiences where they can go back to their club and be little top button. Like, yeah, we played the old, but well, we've played Ashkernish and a few others. And to your point, that's what people want. They want these really unique experiences where they can just kind of boast about it a little bit. So yeah, I think that's all I got for my final thoughts. Go do it. Even if it's not Critch Island, just go to some of these cool places, and they're going to love having you because they're not used to visitors. Where some of their top clubs are. These places are, and they are extremely grateful for it. And yeah, that's all I got.
No, that's a great way to end it. It was a great day, and I don't know if it'll ever top it, but we did it, and that's all that matters. So, like Connor said, go. But drawing to this one to a close, if you have any questions, DM us on social media or send us an email, golf@haversham.com. We would love to banter some more with you about Critch Island. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in. We will be back again soon with another episode. But until then, we wish you plenty of golf at its finest and life at its best.